Hello and welcome to episode 68 of Wing Sauce. Guys, they could see us now. So, I mean, when we're doing the audio, no one can see us laughing, whatever. You know what? And by the way, speaking of optics, I'm not in my normal office. This is way better. So, I don't even have an office. I
Well,
film from
instead
a
of you asking
closet.
us how we're doing, why don't you tell us how you're doing, where you at, and what's going on with you?
Yeah. Well, let's just make this all about me today. Appreciate it.
hmm
Um, yep. In Ludington at the in-laws place. Um, father-in-law's got a nice big office here that doubles as a bedroom. But yeah, super nice. Came here for Mother's Day. By the way, we need to wish all those great mothers out there happy Mother's Day. Um, and yeah, we came up here just for the night. Got to head back home. A lot of important things to do. Some coaching. Got two more
Nice.
games today, fellas. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And oh, by the way, for 68, there's no one who wore 68 for the Wings, so it's just the Wing Sauce edition. So did Dustin lead off last time or did Connor for last episode?
No
who,
idea.
Who started?
Connor, just go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't have much. I don't. Go ahead. I don't have much of an update, to be honest, guys. I mean,
All right, well, that's great. No.
Season is well. We were going to talk hockey a little bit later and still are, but we can talk Red Wings then. I did say or did notice that yesterday McDavid 53 games played, 100 points. That's
Is that
not
good?
bad. Yeah. So the season's over for the Wings at least, and I don't know, being able to watch McDavid all season's been fun, and hopefully he's going to be in the league for a long time because that guy is
It's a sick joke. It's a joke. So
like he honestly needs a separate league. He just needs to be in a league with two teams, only all-stars. He just needs to be on an all-star team, to be honest.
they probably. I mean, I'm imagining that he came here by mistake because there has to be another planet that is just filled with Connor McDavids, and maybe he was like the worst one from that planet and was sent down
Probably.
here just as a joke.
Slum it with us.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
just to rack up those points.
so I mean, on Connor McDavid, last 10 games he had 29 points. Connor did point out about Connor that he had 1 0-point game, but most of them were 3 points or higher. Oh,
he
wait,
can afford to do that.
That's what I feel like too.
I think he was playing without skates that game, if I'm not mistaken.
He forgot his stick at the house.
Yeah, he didn't have a stick and almost scored. So you guys can do the math there.
Right. But talking about scoring, I do not think Alexander Ovechkin will be solidifying his spot as number 5 overall for goal scorer just due to the fact that he's been injured.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not this year because what do we have? 1 week left in the season.
Yeah, 1 week left. He's not playing. I think he'll play in the playoffs for sure. But on that, Tyler,
there's no reason for him to play.
There's speculation
right
though
now
that he may not return next year. He may go back to Russia.
Really? I feel like I hear a story about that every single year.
I do too, and that's the thing too, right? I feel like I see that
about him.
Yeah, about Ovi.
Yeah, I see that every year.
Really?
Yeah, and he says the only place he's going to play for is either the Caps or the Dynamo team over Dynamo Moscow.
Putin's team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only team you should play on over there. It's either you're playing like for that team or
They're
maybe
buddies.
Like 1 or 2 others, or you're playing like in the middle of nowhere, Siberia.
Well, at least they made the KHL a little bit more competitive as far as actually having teams other than Putin's team winning.
Yeah. I feel like they did that on accident. The ref that last game where they lost, he's dead for sure. There's no doubt.
He's no longer with us.
He's not here.
Yeah. R.I.P.
But yeah, I'm doing good. Other than hockey for the Red Wings being over, but
that means playoff hockey, and
which is actually my favorite kind of hockey.
It is. I love watching the Wings right now. It's hard to watch the games, but it's more about like the development and just being like a fan of the team. But now I'm excited to watch hockey every night and meaningful hockey.
I can't remember if we were talking about it or if I was having another conversation like at home or whatever, but not having your own team in the playoffs makes the playoffs much more enjoyable because
It's less stressful.
you get to watch different
Yeah.
teams. Yeah, exactly. Well,
I'm like
if the Red
excited to
Wings
watch
are
the
in,
game.
Exactly. You're not having to
yeah,
sit there and worry about
if
oh
the Red
shit.
Wings get knocked out, right? If the Wings get knocked out, which there's a good chance that if they make the playoffs within the next 2
In
years, they're
7
probably
to
going to
10
get bounced
years when
early.
yeah, when they make the playoffs.
but it's not as exciting anymore. I mean, I don't know, maybe I say that now, but it could be kind of the same thing how we're watching. Like for 25 years we watched playoffs with just the Wings in it, and maybe that's why it wasn't enjoyable for us. So
A little spoiled.
I don't know. I have a lot of teams that I'll be watching very closely.
I would say
still go ahead.
No, I would say, like, when you watch the Wings and they're in the playoffs or even any team, I feel like once that team is out, I don't watch the playoffs after that. It's almost like I need a minute to like gather myself after a loss, where now I
It's
watch
like
the
a
whole
mourning
thing.
period.
Yeah, like all the way through. So it's better for me. But anyway, go ahead. You were going to something else.
Me?
No, I was just going to say that there's the one team that I still am not going to change my course on is the Avs. I still think that they're going to do very well in the playoffs, but we'll do our full playoff analysis probably within a week, right? Because
I mean, pretty much. I was just
season.
Yeah, so the regular season ends next week, but I was just looking at the different divisions. Pretty much every division set except the North. But I don't know why it's not set. The North should be set. Only reason I'm guessing is because Vancouver. There's quite a few games.
48 games.
49 games, but they're at 43 points. They're 14 points behind Montreal. I don't see them catching up, to be honest. I could be wrong. But yeah, everybody else is solidified as far as who's who.
Who's in? Yeah.
But now the President's Trophy, that's going to be the interesting one. Carolina and Vegas are battling it out with 80 points right now. So I'll be curious to see who kind of takes that. Vegas is one game back, by the way. So
did you guys see that Tortorella is not going to be returning to he's not returning.
That's been speculated though for a while, like halfway through the season. I think
we even talked about that.
We did talk about it, but it's just now it's official. So
is Torts coming to the Red Wings?
I don't know. I mean, I would love to.
Can you see a little
Tortorella in?
Might not be a bad little play.
I think he's kind of like he's one of the. I'd say that other than Daryl Sutter, he's probably the last like old school type of coach that's out there. I'm not talking like Scotty Bowman-esque or anything like that. I'm talking like
he's not a
like
he's old school. Bitch at your guys, be on the bench and kind of like. But like, do you think that would be? Maybe this is a topic for later, but like, do you think that would be good for this Wings team? I don't know. I mean, like right now, the way it's trending, and you see a lot of these young guys that
you need players coach.
I don't know.
Players coach.
I don't know. I kind of like accountability.
Well, I don't think that. I don't think. I mean,
you could still have accountability.
No. I for sure, but I'm just saying, Torts demands a higher level of accountability than Blash. Is what I'm saying. Or like,
for sure. But I think I'm talking about a players coach versus not players.
Give me an example.
An
example of a players coach.
Oh, I can. I'll look. But let me just finish my thought here. Like I can look at a few and give you them. But the difference is that right now, I mean, I don't think that you need a coach that's going to hold you accountable in the NHL. I mean, if you're not holding yourself accountable, then you're going to be out of the NHL. And I think that's the difference too, because these GMs know it and the players know it. The players don't need to have accountability, because if they don't, the GM's like, all right, you're gone. Like it's not really up for discussion anymore.
Yes, but I feel like with the Red Wings depth, that you can get away with a little bit less of accountability. Because what are you gonna throw everyone in the AHL? You're gonna, what I'm saying? You're gonna throw everyone.
Look at how they played the last couple games, because they know that if they don't play well, I mean, they're out. What are they playing for? And they've been playing well. And like the only reason they're doing that is like, well, shit, I'm going to be out of a job if I don't play well. They have to play well, and that's holding yourself accountable to say, okay, well, I need to like bear down. And like, I think they need a little bit more of that. But the bottom line,
a lot of these guys are playing for contracts too.
Well, a lot of RFAs. We've talked about that. A lot of RFAs this year. A lot of RFAs and UFAs.
So I also think speaking of Red Wings, we should definitely mention that we had Ken Daniels back on.
For our
And
first
it
Zoom,
was
a Zoom
for the first
call.
Zoom, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And you know what? I wasn't, people have to understand that when he's on TV, his job is to kind of pump the Wings tires. And you know how hard it is for people to do that for 2 years straight when they're not that good. So for him to come on and kind of, he didn't rip the Wings by any stretch. He was critical of them, but he was fairly critical. There was nothing that was out of line or anything like that. I liked how honest he was able to be with us because I feel like he doesn't get that chance often.
Well, I think he was, he gives a little bit more of a realistic aspect to what to as opposed to us three, right? Because I feel like sometimes we are pretty harsh and expect a lot being fans, whereas he's essentially part of the organization, so he's a little bit more in depth, can see those little micro pieces getting moved around. So it's good having that insight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is that I was expecting, being part of the organization, any organization, but for him being with the Wings, and then we're asking questions on players, and you just expect the cookie cutter political answer of, they're trying their best,
Right.
they're doing well, blah blah blah, they have good points, they're taking strides on a really bad team. But no, he was pretty candid with us. I thought that he made some good points. It's not like he's ripping anybody, but I think that he watches enough hockey that, if there's a guy that isn't playing up to their potential, he's able to call them out a bit, and you just don't expect that, which is good. I think that's a breath of fresh air because it's very easy to.
Yeah.
Well, he
to
surprised
just
me
not
on
say
Ronick.
that.
He surprised me on Ronick when Tyler brought him up, and then he kind of shut down Tyler's thing, saying he was playing good this year. It was interesting to see that he's playing better, but he was expecting more out of Ronick this year, I guess. Well,
I think he was what he was really saying, and obviously this is just, we'll let everyone else decide when they hear it too. But from what I gathered from it is like, yeah, he's playing better, but don't take this season as like the solidified pieces moving forward, because he's a number one and number two guy on this team, but he would be probably a 4 or 5, maybe a 6 guy on another team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I
think we've talked about
brought that up, because I think, yeah. Oh, we definitely have. And I did tell him, to be like, to be honest, every time that we've mentioned him this year, I feel like we've always said, not even just this year, last year too, the offensive upside always outweighs his defensive side. So, and that's the biggest criticism that we've had of him. And if he could just work on that a little bit, he doesn't have to be a huge shutdown D man, but if he can work on it a little bit, I think he would solidify himself as a top 4 D in the league, not just top 6.
But I think that too, for him, if you like right now, he's probably average? Is he leading the team in time on ice?
Oh, for sure.
For a defenseman,
like 5
absolutely.
Minutes. I think he's averaging like 20 something, 24,
23 minutes, 23. He's
okay.
He is quite above everybody else. Just to put it in perspective, for Connor's point, Larkin's at 20 minutes, Merrill's at 19 minutes, Stahl's at 18 minutes. These are all defensemen, so that's expected. So let's but
other than Larkin, right?
Right. But I mean, even Stetcher, De Kaiser, they're only at 17, 18 minutes. So he's getting 5 minutes more than any other defenseman. So,
and kind of like rule of thumb for people that if you're on like near that 20-minute mark, that's a ton of ice time. So to be over that, like 23 minutes, that's a ton. And so the only reason I say that is that that's third of the game. And the only reason I say that is that if you do have more depth and you have like some other defenseman that could take some minutes away, I bet his minutes come down to 19, 20, right around there. And that potentially is taking some of your offense away. I mean, just by being on the ice less, the assist, the second assist that he probably got this year, that would probably go down from just breakout passes or whatever, whatever that may be. So I would expect that, the team could get better, he could get better, and maybe stay around where he was at, and he needs to find more offensive ability, like as far as scoring goals. but I don't think that he's going to be just blowing the numbers through the roof because of
No.
the ice time. That was crazy because you just can't sustain that. I mean, very few players can. It's like Carlson, and that's it.
Yeah.
They've been doing
He's
that for
young
10
and he's got
years.
the energy.
He
Yeah.
does, but the problem is with those 23 minutes on the ice, I want to see more out of him. You know, I want to see some more shutdown D or I mean, he is leading, I think, in points or damn near close to points leading.
He is. I think
He is leading
points. I think he's also leading in plus minus too, in the minus.
He's leading in assists. He's not leading in points because, like, well,
he is leading
for
in
the
points.
Red Wings that have been with us.
Yeah, but not
Isn't-
anymore. Like after the trade.
Well, no, yeah, like so Verona, because like technically, yeah, but yeah, for Red Wings who have stuck with it all year, yes, he is leading in points.
I guess I don't understand your statement there. You're saying because Verona was here less time and has I'm not sure how many points he has. Quite a few.
Well, I think he's just saying overall. If you take a look at the roster, like Ron doesn't have more
if you
points.
look at, yeah, Verona has 36 points to Philip Veronic's 26.
My bad.
My
bad.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm following now. Sorry, Tyler. I was that literally went right over my head. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, got on a tangent.
So-
there. I think people will like the interview. I think they'll know that part when we're talking about it and make their own assessment there. But you know, he's playing. It just comes down to being a more well-rounded player. Obviously, the offensive ability's there, but lacking on defense, and you can see that with plus minus. But that's another thing backing to being on a really bad team, being out there for a third of the game. You're just going to land into being on the ice when there's goals against. That's just how it's gonna work for a while.
Yeah. You know, he did give us a lot of hope with, you know, he spoke highly of Niederbach and Soderblom and those guys too. So it's good. It's good. You know, we've talked about those guys, but even someone who watches the team as closely as he does and as much as he does
and can talk to the scouts.
It was nice. Yeah. I don't know how much he actually does that.
I mean, he said a little bit.
Did he?
Yeah.
I must have missed that. Okay. So, but it's just refreshing to hear somebody in like who is affiliated with the organization in a way to talk about it, you know, because we hear about it, we read articles, and it's a breath of fresh air.
It's nice to see that Yzerman. Sorry, Connor. I was just gonna say it's nice to see Yzerman's investing in his younger prospects. You know, because we're asking about Giovanni Smith, Sider, and all those people, and it looks like Yzerman's trying to make a spot for him next year, just to kind of to make a show for themselves.
Yeah. No, and all I was gonna say is that's why I was wanting to. People are going to hear it, but you know why I wanted to ask that question of like, what's he hearing too? Because we can read all the articles we want, and it's going to be the M Live articles or 97.1, the ticket articles or whatever about these guys, and what does that mean? Because they can see the same stuff that we do. Oh yeah, there's a YouTube clip of Maurice Sider's, you know, top plays or whatever, and he won this award, but we don't get to talk to scouts. We don't get to talk to Yzerman, unfortunately. But
it
is what it is.
I tried to reach out to him. He didn't return my call, so.
Interesting. Must be busy.
Stevie?
Yeah. Must be.
He'll get back to you.
I'm assuming so. The season's over now, so I don't know. I don't know what he's got going on.
Yeah, Steve, you're not busy. We know that the team's done.
You act like
Get
the
off
off season. You act like
course
the
and talk
off
to
season's
us.
happening and the expansion draft and the other draft.
Yeah.
Well, should we kick it over? Or what do you want to talk about?
No.
I know we have a few more things, but I don't know if we wanted to touch on that at the end.
Yeah, well, let's just kick over to Ken, and then we'll recap the games on the back end.
Sounds good.
All right. Should be good, Tyler.
All right. So our next guest, this is the first time that we've actually done a Zoom interview, and thanks to him, we might actually do this moving forward. So huge thank you for coming on, and welcome back, Ken Daniels. Thank you so much for joining the Wing Sauce podcast again. What's new?
Well, so it's going to be my fault that your mugs are going to be on here all the time, huh?
Okay. Yes.
Get used to it.
Somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the guy.
All right. Doing okay. I haven't had 3 days off since last season, so that's pretty good. I don't think maybe one stretch we did, but you know, in the midst of actually not doing games, you try to get stuff done and then you cram it in and then you realize you still don't have enough time. But we're getting things done, keeping busy. So it's all good.
Good. Well, I wanted to first off just say happy birthday to Jamie and to your mother both. And this is obviously a big day for you, and one that you always remember. And we really do appreciate you coming on for this day for sure.
It's a good distraction. So we can talk
Definitely.
hockey. So thank you. Yeah, it's very
Absolutely.
nice. Remember
So-
them every day, and so it's all good. Yeah.
Definitely. I celebrated my birthday yesterday, and definitely tipped back a few in Jamie's memory for sure. So, of course. Now getting right to hockey, this season's been way better than last. I'll say that for sure. But I wanted to get your opinion on everything. I mean, just being back, it just has to feel good. A little strange with no fans, but tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a different universe. I hope it changes in the future. I think for players, well, I don't think I know, the players probably like it a whole lot better without having the media in the room. I don't consider myself media, but without having to answer all those questions, and you get a few a day and they can go about their business. So I'm hoping this isn't the way to go, because I think if it is, I think fans are it's a disservice. I think in a broadcast situation, we don't have the opportunity to get one-on-one and tell stories like I believe we should be telling stories. So the fans get to know those players and they become to like those players, whether a Red Wing or someone else from another team. So they can follow them. They become more involved in the league. And now there's 32 teams. So you want to be able to tell those stories that I believe is very important. So we really missed that this year. I think it's easy to say, yeah, by Zoom, we got through it, and we did. And it's okay. It can be convenient, but you're missing that one-on-one interaction. And for example, I've met Bobby Ryan when he played elsewhere in Anaheim and Ottawa. Since he was a Red Wing, I don't know Bobby Ryan. John Merrill came and went. Never met John Merrill since he was at Michigan.
Wow.
So it's different. We don't see anybody. We're not allowed down by the room. And even the Red Wing scouts, if you're not in that zone one, you're not going anywhere near there.
Right.
Steve Eisman goes down there, but then again, you've got to get checked. So I think most of the players have been vaccinated now. Mickey and I were vaccinated months ago, but it doesn't matter. You're not there, and we're not traveling with them. We're doing road games from our studio and home games from Little Caesars Arena. But home games, I go to my car, I go to our area on the lower level, not in the gondola, behind the bench, and we end the game, we go home. So you're not seeing anybody. So for me, it's just been strange. I want it to end. I like the interaction. I like being on the road with our crew. You drop off your bags at the hotel at 4:30, you go to your room and you get a text at 10 to 6, lobby in 10, and the whole crew go out for a drink, or we meet and go for dinner. You don't have that. It's the camaraderie. And that part of it is never going to be the same, because I know through Bally Sports and even everywhere else, the technology now that you can do it through the cloud, our director, our producer, our font guys, probably our tape guys, our Elvis guys, and MJ, Mike Johnson, one of the best in the world, they're not traveling anymore.
Right.
We're not getting together on the road. They can all do it from back here. Well, hopefully, if I'm doing the game with whomever I'm doing it with and a reporter, hopefully we get to still travel. Sinclair would like us to, that's Bally Sports, Sinclair, would like us to, I think, across the country. But that's up to the teams now. And you're in a different world, from shaking hands to fist bumps to everything else. So who knows? So that's a long-winded answer to your question. It's been a weird year, and I hope it stops.
Well, you mentioned Steve Eisman is able to go down there. I'm glad he made the zone one cut. I feel like he deserves that. So.
Well, you know what? In some ways, I'm not so sure he wants to, because you're going down there, you're getting tested, and it's a pain in the nose. So I'm not so sure you necessarily want that. I'm happy not going down there and being tested. I just wish I could.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and I understand you got to be objective here on this next question, but I just wanted to take, before the season starts, you have the team at face value. There's a lot of expectations, high and low, I would say. Now that we're at the tail end here and almost finishing up, where's your thoughts? Just being able to, like you said, you're still around the team and watching every game. So, what are your thoughts around the team's progression or regression, if you think that's the way they win as well?
Oh, I don't think there's any regression. I think they are right where I thought they'd be. Right in that exact same spot I thought they would be. I thought they'd be better than last year at 17 wins, and they passed it, not by much. If they could score on the power play, they'd be a hell of a lot better.
Absolutely.
They've won 2 1-goal games. Sorry about my printer going off behind me.
That's
They've won
all right.
two 1-goal games this year. I could probably look it up. I haven't done my notes yet for tomorrow's game. I believe on the power play or something in that span, there may be 1 for 46 or something like that on a power play in 1-goal games, of which they've won 2. So you think about that. Even if the power play had scored 7 more goals, maybe in that span there's 4 more wins. Okay, they're a heck of a lot better. Now, I'm not saying they need 4 more wins. I mean, at this stage of the game, who cares? I'm rooting for if the Red Wings don't win their final 2 and get nothing, I'm rooting for Anaheim to win their final 2. Go Devils, go! And then the Red Wings drop down. They've had no luck in the draft anyway, so I'm not sure it's going to do any good. Mickey and I talk about it all the time. You know, he'll get peeved. You know, picking up points that other teams don't get. At least stay competitive with us, and you know, other teams lose when they should win, even beneath us. So I know he gets peeved at that, and I go, what the hell? I mean, we can't win a lottery anyway, so let it be maybe the year that we finally aren't supposed to win it, we win it. So It's been that long. So I'm rooting for that, for the lottery. The wins don't really matter to me. They really didn't all year. To your question, I think the team's competitive. I knew it would be. And it's good. They're in a lot of games by the 1-goal games. The only thing that failed them was the power play was brutal. And then early on, they played through COVID. They weren't shut down miraculously, much to their detriment. They weren't shut down. They probably should have been. Went on a long losing streak. Bernier hurt, missed 17 games. Grice had to handle the whole load. The team's not scoring for him. That's the way it went. But I think we've seen progression from a lot of players and the competitive level, and nobody's quit on anything. So I like that part of it.
And you mentioned just real quick, Tyler, you're talking about the power play a little bit, and then with Bertuzzi being out, this, you know, basically I'm just going to call it the whole season. You'd like to think that they could click a little bit more with a consistent power play when you get one of your top guys back. So I don't think that you're out of question and out of mind here by saying that if you get 7 more goals, that's, who knows what happens in those 1-goal games if you can just get into overtime. And if not, you're still getting the point, you know? So, and your points are moving up, but like you said, it's not so much about the wins and losses right now. Right now, I'd have to imagine that the scouts and that eyes are going to be looking at individual players and looking at the, you know, the ice time and the plus minuses and the smart plays up the wall and things like that. But I know that's not news for any of us here, but it's interesting to watch every game, and they made it interesting to watch because last year was a little rough tuning in every game.
Yes, it was. It was a rough calling them. And that year of travel, I would have preferred the no travel to be last year, actually, rather than this year and in a shorter season. But yes, I think Bertuzzi makes a huge difference. And now, you know, having the surgery, and it's going to be a recovery probably 3 to 4 months. And then be ready for next season. But he makes a huge difference. Even him getting in on the puck, swatting at pucks, and he's got very good hands and in tight, just creating loose pucks, creating battles for pucks. That's what he does. And you know, and Rasmussen, at least with Dylan Larkin being out, it gives Michael a chance to move up a little bit, play in situations. I don't think he's ever going to be a great goal scorer, but maybe he gets 10 to 12 a year on the power play and maybe 6 at even strength. I think that's where he's going to be. And if he scores 21 year, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Big body in front of the net. I mean, my Lord. But I wanted to talk about the most recent, you know, obviously huge trade that happened. Leading up to that, did you and Mickey and, you know, any part of the crew have any inkling that Steve was going to work that magic and move Mantha and get those other guys back?
I believe Mickey said to me, and we're in the studio and I can picture it, and he said to me, Mantha's going to be moved. Now, this is probably 3 weeks before, but we weren't thinking trade.
Yeah.
We weren't thinking trade deadline, but although maybe he was. But he said, Mantha's going to be moved. And I said, yeah, at some point. We just thought so, only because I believe when Steve signed the deal, and it was a 4-year deal, decent money, I think it was a good deal for Anthony and it was a good deal for the Red Wings. I just felt at the time, when Anthony signed the deal, he was going to be close to 30 when it was up. Red Wings aren't competing for anything significant, should be competing for a playoff spot and maybe winning a round 4 years from now, perhaps. But Anthony was going to be on the tail end of that. Now you got to sign him to another deal. 30 in the NHL, let's say 33 in the NHL is the old 43, I guess. Sort of reverse. The players now, they're ending quicker. They're starting sooner. The careers aren't as long as they used to be. So, you certainly, if Anthony wouldn't be a problem signing him again, but he would have been the veteran guy. And is he the veteran guy you're going to rely on to lead the group, mentor the young guys, be that guy? I don't know if he is, and I thought, and then I thought maybe Anthony to Montreal would be a move. But then I thought Anthony to Montreal, boy, you're in the spotlight there, worse than you are in Detroit. I'm not sure he's the guy who's going to love that. So for me, and I do, Anthony Mantha is a wonderful guy, and he'll score goals, and I hope he does. Going to Washington, I think, is a great spot for him. He doesn't have to be the guy, and he'll have better talent around to surround with. He needs better talent around to get him the puck. So I thought when he signed the deal, I thought at some point it was a perfect deal for Steve to move. Did I envision Verana and this and picks? No, I thought they'd get something significant, but I never thought it would be that guy. I just felt he'd be a good contract to move because the rebuild is going to take a while.
So yeah, I was going to ask how high do you think that this Verana, his ceiling is? I mean, this guy's phenomenal. You've seen spurts of greatness when he was just beginning in Washington, but just what have you seen from him, and what kind of what should we expect as Wings fans?
I liked Jacob Verana. It was Andre Burakovsky, who wasn't getting much time in Washington either. And may have been 3 years ago now. I was doing for NBC. I was doing the Columbus-Washington series. Columbus had the lead in that series, 2-0, and then could have gone up 3. Grubauer got pulled. He started the first 2 games, and then Braden Holtby came in. Boone Jenner hit a crossbar. They could have been up 3-0 in the series and went over. And then Washington on and does what they do. So when I saw Verana then, I thought this guy can really play. He's just somewhat stunted by who's there. He didn't have great playoffs by any stretch. Anthony Mantha's finally going to be in a playoff. So we'll see what he does. Verana didn't put up those numbers, but you could just see the skill and the determination. When I see Verana, he still makes some of those hope plays, moving the puck probably quicker than he should, moving it to spots where maybe hold on to a little longer, but he'll learn that. He's still younger. And that's the other part of that deal with Verana is he's a couple of years younger than Anthony. So again, when you get to that point 3 years from now, where maybe you're ready to compete for a playoff spot, where Anthony's going the final year of his deal, they're going to have to sign Verana to a deal. I don't know what that deal is going to look like. Probably the numbers won't be far off from what Anthony's numbers are. But you're seeing that with Verana. He'll be an important part of it and the skill level. He can score goals. Ceiling, I don't know. Is he a 25 to 30 goal scorer? I think so. He just doesn't be the size that Anthony does, but I would think Verana should be a 25 goal scorer. But again, what talent are you surrounding him with? There's Dylan Larkin. You can try Fabry in the middle. Rasmussen could be relied on more defensively. I think Veleno's all day long a third line center and will be terrific.
Yeah.
Is he up to a second line center? Depends what he can do in tight, move the puck. We'll see about that. But the only way to do it is to draft a center. So if you do in 3 years and you can get a center this year, or maybe it's Niederbach coming on and you look 3 years down the road from now, all of a sudden you've got those pieces to play with. Or they sign a free agent center. But to sign that guy now isn't necessarily what you need. You're building. So we'll see what happens in 3 years. I just say let it be. He'll be under contract. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And while we're on this talk of, I won't really call it prospects because they're here, they're right now, we can watch them. But kind of moving over that prospect range and talking about 2-3 years from now, are you hearing anything additional that we might not be able to hear or read in articles about? Mainly Moritz Seider or Lucas Raymond. I've heard only positive things, but I'm really excited to watch them a little bit more. And all the articles coming out and all the things that they've won with the little the awards in their leagues. That's all positive news. I was wondering if you've heard of anything else that we maybe aren't privy to.
No, I speak to scouts. I just know that we're Steve. I believe I said it on the air that Moritz Seider may not have been the surprise of the draft in 19. He may be the steal of the draft in 19. So he's, as a junior, he's one of not just what he's doing as an underage and the points that he's putting up on a points per game ratio. I think he's one of the best defensemen in the Swedish Hockey League from what I hear from people. over there. That's how good he is. And to see him hit and to see him get his stick up, that I know Mick loves, he comes at him and, and get it. Although Buchnevich just got suspended for the same thing, although he's sort of
and that's a question for later. I want to get your thoughts
so
on this too,
I think Moritz Seider, just his size, and he's only going to get stronger. Fantastic. So I'm only hearing great things. Watching Elmer Soderblom, when I saw that size and, bigger than what Rasmussen is, and you see his hands in tight, his puck protection was pretty good, but you saw puck protection against guys his own age at the World Juniors. He's going to have to work on that part of his game, but that comes in time. But to see hands on a big man who's 6'7" like Soderblom is, to do what he's doing, and if he gets better at puck protection, wow, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I saw Niederbach, and I spoke to some scouts, and it is like how Zetterberg did, and just protecting the puck and the plays that he could make. I'm not saying he's going to be Henrik Zetterberg, so don't podcast me on that. But but it's nice to see. And speaking to scouts who saw Z at that age, don't forget Z Pavel really didn't come over to 23 or 24. So that's why everything we're looking at, Antti Tuomisto, other players like that, you've got to just give it time. And I hear wonderful things about him too. So you've just got to give it time to see where they'll be. I know when they took Jared McIsaac, they thought this guy's a first round pick. We got him in the second round. Well, let's see. He's had so many shoulder injuries. How do you know? I mean, and that's why this draft and 22 picks this year and the next and 12 this year. And most of the players won't have been seen this year. So you're going to find, in 4 years from now, we'll probably say, boy, that 21 draft, how did that guy, when we do 2020 revisionist history on the draft, we'll never call it 2020 again. That phrase has to go. But we'll look back at the 21 draft and say, how did that guy wind up in the fourth round? Because nobody saw him. That's why he wound up in the fourth round and the sixth round. So this, I think, to have so many picks, and I trust Steve and the staff and Chris Draper, like everybody else, you're going to have some surprises. So as many kicks at the can as you can get for the prospects that are up and coming. But I think it looks good. For your question to Seider, I hear nothing but great things.
He's a wall.
He has a wall. So Ken, you touched on Seider. I got to ask, what's your thoughts on Lucas Raymond?
Same thing. I hear Lucas Raymond from people I've spoken to tell me that in 3 years, now Seider may throw a wrench into that. They said in 3 years, Lucas Raymond will be the best player on the Detroit Red Wings. Now, if they get first overall this year and you wind up with an Owen Power or Matt Beniers, I don't know. I mean, how good are they going to be? But Raymond is just the determination, the skill, the picking off of pucks in some things, Datsyukian fashion like that. I'm not saying he's going to be Pavel Datsyuk, but what I've seen of him and what I hear of him, people love him. So I when I watched, and I remember being on the air on a Red Wings live pregame at the World Junior Championship when what's his name was playing for Germany with Ottawa, and
Stützle.
Thank you. Yeah, Stützle was playing, and I said I loved Tim Stützle. I just love watching him. This guy's amazing. I didn't know much about him. I was just watching the World Juniors. I said, "Holy cow, look at him!" And sure enough, he is where he is. There was nothing not to love about him. So he goes, and you don't get a top 3 pick, and that'll be different now. You can't drop more than 2 spots. You fall to 4 again, which was really where the Red Wings, percentage-wise, that's what we should have picked, was 4th, and we did. So you grab Lucas Raymond. Would they have liked Stützle? I think those top 4 picks, I remember going into that draft, and I know Marco Rossi was talked about it and others in there. Cool. I think going into that draft where it was 3 or 4, and everyone, all the talk was Lafreniere and Quentin Byfield, I really love Stützle. And I remember talking to some guys before the draft. They said, I wouldn't be so sure that 3 and 4 in that draft isn't as good in the end as 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's how they viewed it, I think, at the time. But Lafreniere may be the best. Might be.
Only time will tell.
But I think you can go back. Yeah, let's go back to the Hischier draft and the Patrick draft and others who have gone after that in that draft who are way better. And if you had the do-over, that's the thing about the draft. Do-overs of draft fascinate me. When you go back through and you see, how did he have, boy, if only you had a do-over. Well, we all like do-overs in life. Yeah. So you don't know. But I think the Red Wings were very happy they got Lucas Raymond in the spot they did. There was never a question they wanted him. Do you need help at center? Sure. Would you love a great defenseman? Sure. And can Stützle play some center? And Byfield is that. Lafreniere, no. I think they're very happy with Lucas Raymond.
Right. Now, I wanted to bring up the fact that Lucas Raymond can't be compared to Datsuk in the sense that he doesn't skate like an orangutan, right?
That's right. Not a monkey. It's an orangutan. That's
So,
right.
but I had to bring that up. But I wanted to ask you specifically about one person I think who has really shined this year is Philip Peronic. He's grown a lot. And I wanted your thoughts on that. You know, just in the last couple seasons, he's really proven himself to be a top defender on the team.
Yes, better. I wish the power play were better with him.
Yeah.
On this team, is he a 1 or a 2? Yes. You have to be honest. On many teams, he's a 4 or 5.
Sure.
Probably. On many teams, top 4, maybe a 4, but a right-hand shot, solid. You know, I just look at it where he scored 9 goals last year. He's got 5 empty netters the last 2 years. He's got 2 empty net goals this year. He hasn't scored on a goalie since January 14th of 2020. The last goalie he beat was Thomas Greiss. With the
Wow.
It was the 8-2 loss when Giovanni Smith scored the second Red Wing goal. They were down 8-1. Now it's his first NHL goal, and he couldn't even celebrate, the poor kid. So,
fun fact, man.
you know, well, I used that on the air. You guys missed it because I used it about a week and a half ago. But I think he's up to, when he scores, it'll be his first in 74 or 75 games beating a goalie.
Wow.
So if he's your guy on the power play to run it, and Cholowski so far, I mean, I don't know if he can do it or not. He hasn't necessarily proven it yet. When I look at Jacob Chychrun with 18 goals and Cholowski just trying to find his way already, you know, it was a deal made at the time, and that second round pick that we got from Arizona was Peronic. Figure it out. And then with money, when we moved Pavel's contract, they signed Franz Nielsen. Now, I think at the time when Ken was doing the deal, I think he felt they maybe had a shot at Stamkos, if I'm not mistaken. But Stamkos wasn't going anywhere. So then you move Pavel's money, you drop down from 16 to 20, you take Cholowski, they take Chychrun. I'm sure the Red Wings stayed there. Now, at that time, you're sort of, Kenny knew, but I know coming into so I'm not blaming them. I get it. They were coming into a new building. You wanted to keep going, so you signed Nielsen. You wanted Pavel's money off the books. Not that they needed to do it. They probably could have sat with it and just got the pick. You could have made a move. Again, it's hindsight. You're in the midst of it. You get an extra second. A lot of teams do that. You can drop down 4 spots and get an extra second. I'll tell you, a lot of GMs around the league would do that. Yeah. So it wasn't crazy. And you did end up with Peronic. But if you really liked Peronic, I guess you could have traded a 3rd and a 4th and moved up to a 2nd. But you know, that's what happened. So I think Hronik's offense, I hope it gets back to the level where he was in a 9-goal scorer, even though I guess probably 3 of those were empty netters a year ago, and he's got 2 empty netters this year. So he's been okay. He's been all right. I think everyone around him solidly. I think it helped his defensive play. Yes. Where it was, you know, Merrill and Nemeth and all these guys. I think it helped. I think the Red Wings were a lot better defensively this year. They really were. And when you got the goaltending coming on the last month, like, you know, Bernier, who's healthy again, and Greiss, I think, was just tired. When that comes in, that helps the penalty killing. And that's been a lot better too. So it's the power play that struggled. And it's Hronik's that guy. The Kaiser, you can't really count on that. I mean, he had the nerves aren't clicking and the leg from the back surgery. That's too bad for him. So I don't think he's been as strong. So you don't really have those guys running that power play. You just don't. So that's my answer to you on Peronic. He's been okay. I think he's been solid enough, but I really thought there would even be more of a progression than there was.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because the main thing that we talk about is his offensive, you know, upside outweighs his defensive side by far, right? And if he was able to work on his defensive side, he could be a serious threat in the league, maybe go up from a 4 or 5 defenseman to a top 2. But you know, he's still a young guy. Maybe he could still work on that, and I'm hoping that he can. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, the goaltending this year has been a huge story for us, and Greiss specifically, just in the last month or so, he's been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So have you heard anything from him? Is he just, I know that his confidence at the beginning of the season, we weren't scoring goals and it seemed like he couldn't get a win. But now it seems like all that is shattered. So what have you seen and what do you like so far?
Well, Jeff Saleko's done a wonderful job with the goalies. They've both been great. I think maybe it just took a while. The defensive system come into play. Everyone's just adapted to it. Grice was tired. He was playing every game. Bernier missed 17.
Oh my gosh.
You're playing every other day.
Right.
So for Grice, just mentally, how do you keep going? Mentally, you go into a game, and if you're Thomas Grice, you're thinking, if I allow 2, we're screwed. We're not winning. Just not. Yeah. He's got 1.99 goal support. And even in the back-to-back shutouts and first star of the week, and he had the best save percentage, maybe goals against 2 in April, in the month of April, of any goalie with maybe 7 starts in the month of April. So he was top of the league. I believe he was rested and then got some time off, and the team started to score some goals for him. That certainly helped. And you get some breaks, even in the back-to-back shutouts that he had. 2 of the games, goals were challenged and taken back. That didn't happen early in the year. They would have stood. So now he gets 2 shutouts and he had 2 goals called back. And he still right. So that's amazing. And he won in the shootout and a loss there, but still gets a shutout in the shootout, even though they lost 1-0 in Columbus game and had 2 goals called back. I just believe mentally he was wiped out, and the team going through that stretch and playing every day. So, he's under contract for another year. I felt the signing of Thomas Grice was wonderful. And I think Bernier's been great too. I don't know Steve's thoughts on Jonathan Bernier, what he thinks of him, whether to re-sign him or not. There are a lot of goalies that are going to be out there this summer. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens, not just Seattle, but everything. Free agency, not like the Red Wings are going to go big ticket here, but solid guys, whether it be a Merrill coming back or a Nemeth coming back, guys, even Mark Stahl. And Mark Stahl had a wonderful season with the Red Wings. Just guys who can solidify, be the veteran presence. I don't believe they had any offer at the deadline that would have knocked their socks off for Luke Glendening. I heard 7 teams were in the mix for Luke Glendening. I don't think anything said to Steve, boy, I can get enough for him to lose that part of the culture with the kids down the road and what's going to happen down the stretch. Right. I believe Luke Glendening probably wanted a shot to win a Stanley Cup. I don't think he would have minded.
For sure.
It wasn't for a long time. Why wouldn't you? But again, he's unrestricted. So where does he fit in now? Is Veleno that 4th line guy? But then there's Glendening brings so much to this team and face-offs.
Yep, face-offs especially.
Yeah, and I certainly don't believe face-offs are the be-all and end all. Right. I really don't. I know we talk about it a lot because it's a good distraction. When Red Wings are winning faceoffs, you got something positive to talk about.
Top of the league, yeah.
Yeah, but they're number 1 in the league, so you like it. But then I saw some number that said of the last 10 Stanley Cup winners or something, maybe 2 of them in the Stanley Cup playoffs were above 50% in the faceoffs. So I don't really know if you're determined enough and you get the puck back. And I in key situations, faceoffs matter, I guess. And there was a time there Glendening was number 1 in the offensive zone, number 1 in the defensive zone. Right. You could say neutral ice matters or doesn't, but what value to put on, I don't know. I just know within the team frame, Luke Glendening is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with like the old Wings when you're all about puck control and you can win a defensive zone face-off and you got the best defenseman in the entire league and Draper can win it back and then you can control the puck for the next 5 minutes, then obviously it's important, but I don't think we're there right now.
No, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. There you go. Really quick on the goalies, were you surprised? You talked about Glendening, there was a few offers there, but nothing crazy. I mean, I was a little surprised that we held on to both the goalies given where we're at and how good their numbers looked, especially, looking at goals against, the number of shots and that kind of that offensive support there and the lack of it. I was surprised that some of the playoff teams, and I guess I don't know if they made any offers, so this is just me not knowing that, but were you surprised both of them are on the team still?
Well, not Grice. I didn't think Grice was going anywhere. Because even under contract and goalies you have to protect for the expansion draft, I don't think you just put teams in a tougher spot. I think many teams will have their goaltender, and you feel like Red Wings will expose Caden Fulcher, so it's not a big deal to them. So I don't, you need someone in that regard. And with the salary cap, and if it's just a depth guy and they've got a number 2 they think are okay, like even Toronto, Jonathan Bernier wasn't going back to Toronto. Freddie Anderson's playing this afternoon. I haven't seen the game. I recorded at the American Hockey League for the Marlies. But, is Campbell the number 1 guy going to the playoffs? Maybe he comes back and Anderson plays 1 game, but he played 1 game in like a month. So he's your number 2. So I don't think Toronto at the time, knowing where Freddie Anderson was going to go back and revisit Jonathan Bernier again. So I don't know how many teams for the options, for the dollars, what the Red Wings had to eat. Not that that was the be all and end all. I mean, why bother? And if Grice goes down, and still it's another month of the season, you may not win another game. Who are you putting in net? I mean, Calvin Pickard, God bless him, but who are you putting in goal?
Right.
So I just don't think it's worth it to them. I really don't. Yeah. I would have surprised me. Someone really would have you probably would have had to get a goalie back in the deal, take something back. But in the situation teams are in, I don't think Bernier I don't think it mattered.
Yeah.
So Ken, you're talking about like the next year's lineup and stuff. Do you think Giovanni Smith has a spot in next year's lineup? He's came up, made a pretty good name for himself, I feel like, with the few games he's came up and played. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Giovanni has a spot in the roster for sure. Maybe not having a Giovanni Smith in their lineup probably cost Jeff Gordon and John Davidson in New York, but they're working for an owner who's a little bit off in terms of what he wants. They just sent a letter out to fans maybe 3 years ago in a rebuild. A rebuild doesn't take 3 years. It takes a lot longer than that. And I thought the Rangers would be right where they are this year and just a step away from being really good. They've got Adam Fox on the back end. They got a terrific goalie. You signed Panera and they got Lafreniere. You got Cackle. I mean, what more do you want?
Right.
Bannock had after the start of the year with COVID, and he's been one of the best players in the league the last month. Chris Drury may have been sought after, I suppose, but I just didn't get that. But that's James Dolan, so that's what you're dealing with. I go back to my old high school coach, Mike Keenan, who worked for him back in the 90s. So he's a different guy, but at any rate, that's I don't know how it got off on that, but what were we talking about with the Rangers?
I think it was they needed a Smith, and actually we can segue into that.
Giovanni Smith. So that was my point. Was the Rangers didn't have a Giovanni Smith. Rangers didn't have that, and I think maybe it would have helped them if they did, because that's obviously what looking for was the chemistry and the makeup of the team. So I think it's important. There isn't the fighting, despite I think Tom Wilson, if he were suspended, we wouldn't have seen the crap that we saw last night. I can't believe, give him 1 game. And that's why good on them that they actually took him out of the game. Upper body injury, leave the game. Let's settle this down. Let's not have any more crap going on. Let's just end this thing. But not that there's fighting, but Giovanni Smith can give you a presence that you need. I think Michael Rasmussen, when he gets stronger at that size, I think he can settle some things, get in the middle of some things. You don't want him fighting. There isn't a lot of fighting anymore, but that's not a bad thing to have that little bit of toughness up there. So I think, yes, there's a spot for Giovanni Smith.
Definitely. Now you did mention Tom Wilson, and obviously that's been on our minds over the last few days, obviously. But we had a few folks call in and ask some questions. We're only going to air 2 of them for you. One of them actually is a familiar voice to you. He did play on the Pirates. If you remember Jordan Henney.
Oh, sure.
So he called in, and so he had a question regarding Tom Wilson for you. So here it is. And let me know if the audio sounds good for you. Okay.
Hey guys, this is Jordan out in Clarkston. I have a question here for Ken. Ken, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Tom Wilson situation. I think back to the Wing and Avalanche days. I feel as though fighting this way was a lot more common. Do you really think what he did was that bad? Thanks.
What he did was that bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
Had Artemi Panarin hit his head on the ice and you're in a pool of blood, think about it.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that the league should look at, well, he didn't, therefore nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And he got fined for the punch to the back, and he didn't really get him in the head, although he had the stick underneath and Bushnevich. That's what he got the $5,000 fine for. The Panarin was nothing. Should Panarin, as some have said, well, he poked the bear? Okay. But Tom Wilson can look around and go, it's Panarin. You can just fling him aside. I mean, you got to know who you're going with.
Yeah.
So to do what he did, to me, was overly excessive. And I saw Crosby, right? The next, was it the next night?
Yeah, it was the next night.
You know, on
behind the neck, kind of, yeah.
And shoving. All right. But the way he did it just seemed so violent that if I believe the players want the league to send a message to those that this shouldn't be done. And yes, there's a $5,000 fine, and that's ridiculous, but that's the most you can have under the CBA. Mm-hmm. And I get it. You'd say, you know, if you start fining him $50,000 or $100,000, that'll get the message across, sure. But if you're making $850,000 and after taxes and after rollbacks and everything else, all of a sudden you want to find $100,000, that can't happen. Maybe it should be a $10,000 fine for every $100,000 you make. Maybe that's fair. Maybe you go that way, but that's a CBA deal with the league. So the $5,000, throw that out. I personally, if I'm the league and I looked at the Tom Wilson incident, the optics were horrible. I believe the players everywhere, except maybe those in the Washington Capitals, as much as every team in the league may like a Tom Wilson. I'm sure they do. And he's a very good player and he's very talented. But seeing how often he's been suspended, if he's not getting the message yet, and then you put Panarin in a pool of blood on the ice,
right?
That's crazy. And it was this close from having that happen. So to me, the optics were enough where George Parros in the league, and I don't blame the Rangers. They got fined $250,000 for what they said, but I don't blame them for being angry.
I don't either.
I think, if you suspended Wilson, even for one game, you'd have critics going, that's ridiculous, shouldn't be suspended for anything.
It's still something.
Say it's not enough. It would have taken him out of the shenanigans of last night.
100%.
Nothing would have happened. The line brawl, I didn't even watch the beginning of the game last night. And I came back and I recorded it. And I said, I know what's going to happen. I didn't think the fights would continue off defensive zone faceoffs later. I didn't think they had that many. And good for Brendan Smith, although the Sedano Terra ragdoll of Brendan Smith. As soon as he challenged Tom Wilson, I thought, well, this can't be good. So, you know, but
he's the only one that can do it.
Well, and he got the gloves off really fast. Yes, he's the answer to Giovanni Smith. So what does that tell you that James
exactly
like
exactly?
But he got the gloves off fast and he hung on. So kudos to him. I just felt the league should have. To me, it was a 5-gamer because of his history. In the past,
matters. The past matters.
To me, it does. And you know what? It was horrible in that he should have known. And code or not code, he poked the bear. You should have known who you're going with.
Exactly.
And you just don't do it. You just don't. At least Alex Edler got into the fight, knew what he was doing. He served his 2-game suspension. He could have said the heck with you for the hit.
He answered the bell,
But at least the hit on Hyman, it was spontaneous. He was tired. It was the end of a long shift, and all the games Vancouver has played, it was just reaction. He didn't go to take him out. It was dangerous. Should he have been suspended? 100%. Should he have had to answer the fight? I don't believe there should have been a fight. I'm past that stuff. I don't care about it anymore. I watched it last night and I thought, this is just stupid. I don't need the fights anymore. Should you have the deterrent there if need be and someone comes after you? Yes. But the league didn't have to have that happen because Wilson should have been suspended and none of it would have happened. It would have been done. That's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, Tom Wilson, as we discussed, he's a skilled player, but some of the things that he it's so unnecessary. A lot of the things that he does. He's a big guy. You don't need to jump when you're hitting. You don't need to headhunt. He can knock down anybody. And he chooses to play that way. And the thing is,
do it to Reeves or somebody like that. But, you know, he's doing it to every person that's on the ice, you know, and and Reeves will welcome it because they're kind of similar in that aspect.
And you'll see the situations that he gets himself into is the stick's always up when he can, not necessarily someone's head, but always up here where it's just the force coming in. It's how he hits. And the one on Brandon Carlo wasn't good. And out with the concussion, it's just stuff like that. Where's the respect for the other players in the game? Not that you can't hit hard, not that you can't hit right. Tom Wilson's on the ice. You better keep your head up. You know he's going to match it. But learn how to do it right. Learn how to do it right. And I don't think for Tom Wilson's sake, you want to go in your career and be that guy with a butt at the end, because he's such a good player and a Stanley Cup winner and so important to that team. You can tone it down a bit. You can learn to tone it down a bit and still be damn effective. And again, I think every team in the league, I'm not so sure the Rangers who want him now, but every team in the league, well, Rangers probably still would too. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Panarin might not, but the Rangers would.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, we have another one last voicemail for you too. This is from a gentleman who is young and up and coming in TV broadcasting for hockey, Joey Bottano, and he had a couple quick questions for you. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi, Ken. Two questions for you. One, how have you adjusted to calling games in the studio over the season? Has it gotten any easier for you than it was at the beginning? And two, how, if any, is your prep different not being around the players day to day? If it is any different, how have you adjusted to not being around them and not be able to be face to face? Thanks. Appreciate it, Ken. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great question. I think this season, especially calling games out of the studio or just calling games, period. I don't know how in the original 6 they played each other 14 times, but
Right.
I also believe that the play-by-play guys then, from watching the old games and Bill Hewitt and Gene Hart and everyone else, I don't think stories were part of, well, that would have been Gene Hart would have been original 12. But even before then, Fred Cusick, the Boston Bruins, and Bill Hewitt and Toronto Maple Leafs and Foster, they weren't telling stories back then. If you watch the old games, and they weren't hurry up face-offs where they're 20 seconds now, the ref puts his arm up, let's go get your line out. They were 45 seconds, but if you go back and watch the old games, they weren't saying anything. Just watch the players mill around, go to the face-off, and just let it go. Maybe fans would prefer that too, less talking by us. But I believe we try to introduce who, as I mentioned earlier, who those players are. So the prep work is when you go to a game now, you're playing a team 8 times, and I'm tired of playing them 8 times. And what was it? How many in a row was it? The Dallas and whatever you're playing.
Four.
Four. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like calling a playoff series lacking all intensity.
Yeah.
That's what it is. A playoff series, each game will take on a life of its own. You're down 1-0, boy, you won't go down 2-0. So just the energy in itself builds within a playoff series of a 7-game series. I love it. You don't have to think about it. You do your prep work before, and hopefully you don't need any of it because the game just takes over and it really doesn't matter. It's the intensity of the game. Here, you do all your prep work, and for the most part, you need lots of it. Now you go in and you're thinking, well, I may not use this tonight because I'm going to need it in 2 nights. I'm going to need it in 3 nights. And you do the same team again. You're actually praying for a lineup change. Like Ty Dellandrea comes in, you could talk a local product from Flint so that something comes in and you can actually talk about somebody. So that's what you're looking at. It does force you to dig a little deeper on stories. And I'll talk to the other broadcasters and we'll share notes. You're also watching more intently for warm-up because when they're on out of a studio, you're trying to find them off the monitor. We have one locked off camera and you're trying to get the lines, see whether we're going 11-7 or 12-6. And in studio, it's a sterile environment. So, you're right beside Mick and you don't really have the crowd noise. So you're just trying to bring up your own energy in itself. And we're separated by a sheet of plexiglass. So I know when Mick's asking for something on talkback to the truck and has his mic open, he's talking to them. It's like he's sitting right on my lap and I'm hearing him. We're in a building, you don't really hear it. So it's all things you have to adjust to. But I believe we got it down pretty quickly. It's a big monitor in front. It's not the same. We do have another monitor, another camera high and wide from an end zone on the monitor you don't see, so that, and not always, sometimes the cameraman will move in, which kills us. So we'll see sometimes if we think there might be a penalty, I can look up on a high wide and see the referee from behind with his arm in the air, or you can see the goalie leaving. That's the problem. Sometimes we're watching off a monitor, we see what you see, all of a sudden we see 6 Red Wing skaters, and when it's actually not too many men on the ice, we go, okay, it's late in the game and the goalie left. So we don't always know there's 6 skaters unless you can check that high wide. Our director or our producers say, goalie's out. You're not in a building, you can't see the whole ice. That's the difference. Yeah. So prep work, you're looking for more stories, you're talking to different people, you've got the team so many times, You don't want to be repetitive. Then we also know not everybody watches every damn game. Not everyone listens to every minute of a game.
Mhm.
You can repeat stories, but you try to give the interesting ones again without being too repetitive. But you're playing a team 8 times. How many are you using? 3. So then you know, over the period, now you got 5 more games. You're hopefully, I hope to go into every game with 10 stories that I really love, and more on the visiting team. To me, we're talking about our young guys, but how many times do you want us to tell you about the progress of Michael Rasmussen?
Right.
Right.
How many times? Wouldn't you rather hear about another guy? Yes, we're Red Wing broadcast, and I get it.
Yeah.
But there's only so many times you can tell those stories of our guys that Red Wing fans know. Some Red Wing fans don't. I get it. And we try to build up our players. But to me, in a regular season, when you won't see them 8 times, you may see them 4,
Mhm.
or even telling stories around the National Hockey League of players you don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know how many Red Wing fans know about Adam Fox, who could be up for the Norris Trophy in New York. They may go, who?
Mhm.
Yeah. Right.
New York. What? They don't know. How many guys know outside the league? I'll bet you that many of them don't know the season that maybe Niederreiter's having in Carolina or other players. You just don't know. Or you're, oh yeah, that guy's on that team. So maybe we're trying to tell people that Taylor Hall's done really well since he got to Boston, or the fact that he only had 2 goals in Buffalo, and
Right.
stories around the league. We don't want, in our opinion, and we've had meetings about it, Red Wing fans not to know the rest of the league. I think it's important to put those stories in. And that helps when you're playing the same team 8 times. You can deflect and go elsewhere and hopefully keep it interesting. We hope
Definitely.
to. That's
Yeah.
that's what
And you guys have done an awesome job with that so far. I mean, from the games that we've tuned in on, which I got to say, the optics on Bally Sports are a little bit better than Fox Sports.
Why is that?
Just for me personally, I like the way that everything's set up.
You like the
I
ticker?
don't know.
You
I
do?
do.
You like the ticker
You like
on the
the-
bottom? Because we had a lot of
I
complaints about
don't. I
don't
have
either.
to get used to it. Yeah.
Oh,
like I said,
I kind of like it, guys.
I have to tell
There you
you,
go.
we're calling the games out of studio when Bally switched over on March 31st. When Bally switched, I have to say, the first 4 or 5 games, I looked in the top left corner to see how much time was left. Not that I need to give it. I don't give the time a lot because it's on the screen and
Right.
people read. So I'm not doing radio, so I try to stay away from the time.
Right.
But unless it's a power play and people are watching up there and you sort of give how much time left in the power play, they're not necessarily glancing down. But I looked at the top left corner a lot and I went, damn, it's at the bottom. So it took adjusting. Now I got it, but it took adjusting for me as well. Because when I watch other games, not the Sinclair group of Bally Sports, but otherwise, or Hockey Night or other Canadian broadcasts and sports, and it's still top corner left. So it doesn't take away for you guys too much of the screen or anything. You like it on the bottom.
Yeah.
No, I have to get used to it at the bottom. I'm still on edge there. I need to get used to it a little bit more. I like the top corner, but that's
I'm all
just,
for
I think,
change.
from history there. But I mean, speaking
Yep.
of change there, who knows what ESPN's going to do? You know, it might just be completely different, and their optics are going to be crazy. So I'm here. I'm watching.
I heard they've reached out to Wayne Gretzky. So
No kidding,
wow.
really?
I don't know. Well, I doubt for an analyst role, but
Well,
know,
yeah, but still.
I'd love to see Charles Barkley on TNT once a week. Anyway, I would think Paul Bissonnette, if you're going to try to duplicate what they do with Kenny and the guys and Shaq
Mhm.
on basketball, you could go outside the box. I think Barkley,
Yep.
like Cherry, once a week when Don had a pulpit,
Mhm.
maybe good. I don't think you want to overdo Barkley, but you know, there's Bissonnette and Ray Ferraro and those who can argue and have some fun and play off one another. I think could really develop a great studio crew on TNT that would be a lot of fun. For one, I love features, intermissions. Again, I love it when we run stuff, and I think we're probably going to do more of it, that whether it be from Wingspan, there's game analysis. I think there's only so much game analysis I need to see in intermission. I want to hear the banner. I want to hear the fun stuff, the going back and forth. So hopefully that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wanted to switch gears before because we have a lot of updates that we want to hear about the Jamie Daniels Foundation for sure since the last time that you were on. But one quick question. I remember the last time that you were on, you mentioned that you were releasing like older videos on your Instagram, Ken Daniels TV. And one of them was you walking into Gordie Howe's elbow. I don't believe that you actually told that story. So I wanted you to walk us through that. I mean, it must have been memorable. Did it hurt? I mean, what happened there? What was going on?
No, didn't hurt. Not that I can remember. I think it was 1985, so it was a long time ago. But no, I mean, Gordy was great. And I was down at the fantasy camp in Lake Placid where 1980 Olympics and US winning gold. Do you believe in miracles? And then we got to play in that rink 4 or 5 years later. I'd gone to a couple of fantasy camps there. So I was on Toronto and, killing a penalty, and the Detroit team, which Gordy was a part of, was on the power play. And I'm going back and forth, penalty killing, he's going this way and zigging that way. And he just waited for me coming back, I think the third time, to come back with his elbow up, and I just ran right into it. He was smart. I think Gordy was probably 52 at the time. No, 52, 19, I don't know the age, but maybe 57 at the time. Because I think he played with
him.
Yeah. So So probably 55, 57 at the time. So not crazy old, but boy, he could still play and strong. And that same tournament, I remember Chase, I had the puck on my stick and Gordy was tracking me back. I was going the offensive zone. Gordy was behind me and the stick came and pulled me from behind my neck. And I have a photo of it with a welt. I think in my book, If These Walls Could Talk, maybe it's the one with me with Eddie Shack. You can actually see a welt, although it's black and white. You can see a welt on the side of my neck. And I turned to Gordy and I said, "What the F did you do that for?" Because you were there. You were there. That's all. Which I was. Right. He just took out the stick and Gordy ambidextrous. I don't know if it was right-handed or left-handed, whatever he did, but got me right around the neck. So that was just penalty killing. I love that. And on that play, there was, it may have been Danny Gallivan doing play-by-play, and I thought I had the audio of that, but I didn't. So we dubbed it at Ken Daniels TV on Instagram. But yeah, that I love. To say you were elbowed by Gordie Howe in a video of it, that was pretty cool. He was he had some, and that really it helped coming because I'd met him, and Frank Mahovlich and Johnny Bauer I knew from Toronto days anyway. But going to those fantasy camps and Wayne Cashman and Don Marcotte and playing with all these guys and Bill Gadsby. So when I came to Detroit, I knew the guys already and knew Gordy. So that was pretty cool those times. It was great to be a part of it with him for 4 or 5 days in Lake Placid twice. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, you said it best. I mean, Gordy was known for his elbow, and the fact that you were on the receiving end is unfortunate, but also probably one of the coolest things. So
yeah, I think today that should be a 3-game suspension, but yes.
No, it'll be a $5,000 fine.
Probably. That's right. 5,000.
But since the last time you were on, there's a lot that's been going on with the Jamie Daniels Foundation, a lot of great things. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of catch us up on everything, walk us through how the roast went with Scotty Bowman and kind of things from there.
The roast went great. I mean, we had to do it virtually, which was unfortunate, but like the rest of the world, we're all in this. And then we found Zoom. So this is where we were. And Scotty was wonderful. I mean, 87, and to talk with him. And we also did where sponsors paid $10,000 to get their own just Zoom with Scotty and people at their homes. And he'd do it for 5, 10 people, 12 people on a Zoom, and for, 40 minutes or so. And the questions and the people asked him in his memory, just unbelievable. I sat in on a few of them and people just loved it. The major sponsors who contributed good dollars for that. And Scotty was more than happy to do it. Only one night he lost internet and we couldn't get a hold of him. And I wasn't part of it that night, and our people didn't have his number. But then we had to schedule. But Scotty was there. We thought, I'm texting Scotty, Mickey, we had a game that night. Mickey's going, "You better make sure he's okay." And I'm thinking he's 87, like he's fine. But he was great. He goes, "No, the internet went out at the house. There's nothing I could do. Somebody should have called me." He was on top of everything. Bowman is, my dad lived in 96 and he was unreal and still driving at 96. Even had a girlfriend at 96 after my mom passed. I actually said to my dad at one point, I said, "Do you need Viagra?" And he said, "Hell no, at my age, that'll kill me. I just need a hug." So
it's kind of a weird question you don't want from your son, but it's something that you kind of felt like you needed to ask.
No, my dad had a great sense of humor, and I think mine's okay, and I get it from him. There were, Ken Holland was, and again, he lived in 96, and Ken Holland was going into scout a game, and he drove me into Toronto to see my dad. And then I was flying back with the team. So he said, you know, I'm going in Toronto. You want me to drive you in? You spend some time with your dad. So I did. I drove in and I went shopping with my dad. He dropped me off, and I wasn't staying with him. I was staying with my brothers in Toronto, but I'm going shopping with my dad and going food shopping. And we're in the produce area, and he holds up the bananas, and he said, no one my age should be buying green bananas, should they? And I said, well, probably not. And 2 weeks later, he had a stroke. And then 3 weeks later,
gosh.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But he was in great shape and totally with it. So when I think of Scotty, he reminds me of my dad. Although Scotty's memory truly, and everyone who said that, who spoke to Scotty Bowman, just the most amazing memory and stories ever. He can tell you every player of every line from the Canadians in the 50s, the 60s, the Blues in the 60s. Unreal what the guy can do. So that was another side of Scotty. So anyway, the roast was great. We raised $260,000 netted. And, you know, the roast before with Mickey around the same. This year, virtually, we're roasting Brett Hull.
Oh, nice.
Again, it'll be virtual. I think Brett agreed to do it because he didn't have to go anywhere.
That's going to be great.
So he was okay with that. So we're lining up the folks, and it'll air probably in November because you could do it. We'll get tributes and tell our story. And that's what we're doing again. I think we'll have a small sponsor dinner for our major sponsors, maybe the end of August, and we can gather again. But we just couldn't plan on Motor City Casino and having 1,000 people. We just can't. Right now, as we talk to you in May, how do we know what it's going to be in August? So it's too much planning, too many commitments. So we'll do it virtually. Thank goodness for Valley Sports and Sinclair. Haven't spoken with them yet about this year. I'm assuming we can air it on television again, but it's on YouTube. And for those who didn't see the Scotty Bowman roast, it's JamieDanielsFoundation.org. It's on YouTube. We've had over 3,000 views there, and it's running probably 70 times on television. What we did was, by the way, because with the silent auction we had, the night that it ran live to tape, it was a 90-minute show because it included the silent auction. So this year, we're going to do the same, and then we cut it back to a 60-minute show. That's probably the toughest part is cutting everything that you have, this longer versions, now cutting it to 60 minutes. It's only 48 minutes of content.
Yeah.
A 60-minute show with commercial spots. So that's our biggest challenge. And to the other part, we're making great headway to build the long-term recovery housing in Jamie's memory in Oakland County. Nice. I can't give it yet. We have bipartisan approval for it. We're still working with Southwest Solutions and Scenario Development. Our folks are doing that. And it'll be an 80-unit facility, 50 for those who have been drug court mandated. So they have to check in with the drug courts and be drug tested. And 30 units for those families, maybe mother, daughter, someone who needs a place to live. You can stay there as long as possible. Hopefully you have a job. And if you do, a percentage goes to cover your rate, but we'll have job placement on site and 24-hour security and 24-hour management there. That's the big thing in recovery coaches. So that's what we're working toward. And hopefully everything will be done by the end of 2022. We can only hope. So we're making headway. Other than that, that's all I can tell you for now.
For sure. And also, I know that another piece of news that was really exciting, right? I believe it was right after you came on for the first time, is that you guys had a huge helping hand in getting that one doctor completely.
Oh, Michael Ligotti. Yes. And he won't go to trial, I don't think, until, because we will be in the courtroom when he goes to trial. I don't think until May of 22. And it took a while due to COVID for indictment. So he's out right now. And then Lindsay Lohan's father was also charged with patient brokering. And I know because I spoke with Michael after Jamie passed and called me another number of times and wanted to be involved because he was big in the recovery industry until I saw him connected with a video on their sites with Michael Ligotti. And I said, and he had been Jamie's doctor who forged his signatures, and we helped the FBI. And if you go through the indictment, I mean, Jamie's case is on there as one of the 5 that were cited. So I said, how are you involved with Michael Ligotti? And he questioned me that he was on the website. I go look at your website. You have a tribute for Michael Ligotti on your website. Right. I'm done. And basically hung up on him. So then to see now that Michael Lohan's been charged with patient brokering, I said, well, that doesn't surprise me. So, it bothers me. And the movie, for you guys who want to know what went on, although Jamie's I guess case was somewhat, I can't bring myself to watch it, but there's a movie on Amazon Prime and it's called Body Brokers, I believe, on Amazon Prime. I hear it's a terrific movie. It's not a doc, it's a movie based on truth. I just can't bring myself to watch it, but it will tell you
Understandable.
the seedy, awful side of the recovery industry. So if any of you decide to watch it, or any of your viewers, listeners decide to, you can let me know what they think, but you'll see the brutal side and what Jamie went through. But, you know, Jamie had been sober for 7 months until taken into a home through body brokers, patient brokering, and lived somewhere where he shouldn't have been and made the mistake of agreeing to go there. And
Well, yeah, and you know, the one thing that I'll say is just I think that that you guys have done such a phenomenal job at making this widespread information, because at first, you know, when we had heard of everything, this was back in 2016, correct? And
Yeah.
so I would have had no idea about patient brokering or anything. And I think that the Jamie Daniels Foundation and yourself and Lisa have been such a huge part on making that such a well-known thing right now. And I just hope that it continues to grow and more people know about it, because it's a filthy, it's just a disgusting thing that happens, and people get away with it, and it's sick.
well, yeah, and Tyler, we didn't know anything about patient brokering. I know when Jamie called me one day and said, you know, his friend who he's living with in his new house, because he met him at a 12-step meeting, and he said he's in Target. I gave him some money to buy some t-shirts because he had no family, he had no money. So, and this was the kid who ultimately got into the house, and ESPN on their E60 found him, Cade, who did admit to patient brokering, but others, he patient brokered. I'm sure he got paid for Jamie winding up there. And then they send you to a doctor, and then the unscrupulous, the testing that goes on, you built the insurance. And that's what happens. But we knew nothing other than the name of Cade. And Jamie told me, we wished he never went to that house. We told him not to go. We wished he didn't see another doctor who put him on prescription meds of Xanax that he should have never been on. Of course not. So we knew nothing what patient brokering was either, until Jamie's mom and I happened to see something about the Florida Shuffle. So he passed in December of 16. It would have been June of 17, I believe, on the NBC show Megyn Kelly, Sunday Night with Megyn Kelly, and there was a feature on it. We went, holy cow, patient brokering. That's what happened to Jamie. We had no idea. And then when my book came out, and this was 17, and then Craig Customs from The Athletic reached out to me. He wrote the story, and then ESPN reached out to me, and they did the doc for E60 on Jamie. So that's really how it happened. We had no idea when Jamie passed. We didn't know anything, even when Jamie went to his first home, which was very safe and was expensive, leaving detox. And his therapist, when I questioned him, you know, he says it's $245 a week. And I said, wow, that's a lot of money. And Jamie was paying for 3 of the weeks. I was paying for 1. He had a job. He was working at a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to acclimate back into society with your peers. And all the therapist Brian said to me was, I said, why is it so expensive? You know, it was without groceries, it was still close to $1,000 a month. And he said, in Florida, you get what you pay for. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I said, oh, I don't know. I thought everything's expensive in Florida. Had he told me in Florida, you need a safe place, you get what to play for, because there's patient brokers and people are told not to go to other places because they get built, and they built the insurance industry, would have gone, oh, he better not go anywhere else. Didn't know. So you didn't know. We didn't know. Jamie didn't know.
Yeah.
Now people know. It's a good thing.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like I said, you guys have done a great job, and we will continue to spread the word, and more people need to know about the Jamie Daniels Foundation. And I thank you guys for doing what you're doing. And it's not an easy fight, but it's something that's absolutely necessary for sure.
Thank you.
So,
Well, thanks for your support, and everybody. I mean, even to go online when the power plays 0 for 40 and, you know, Ryan Hanna, these guys, and, you know, it's amazing to see, and the money pouring through, and what they raised. There was $15,000 raised there.
Right.
Just recently again. So it's wonderful, just out of the blue, and you got nothing to do with it except for viewing it, or someone texts you, because I'm not on Twitter a lot. I'm on Instagram, but you see it and you go, wow, I mean, that's just the goodness of people. As I always say, we're not here to see through one another. We're here to see one another through, and through the kindness of people around us, and the Red Wing family. I want to say it's a huge family of Red Wing fans. It's wonderful to see. So it's great.
Yeah,
I just thank you to all who are doing that, just out of the goodness of their hearts. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's definitely support, and yeah, Red Wings Nation is definitely one big family. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've taken again an hour of your time. So thank you so much once again for coming on. And Connor, Dustin, anything else you guys wanted to end up with?
No, thanks again. Love hearing about what's going on with you and the Jamie Daniels Foundation and hockey as well. So it's always fun chatting.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
My pleasure. Do a great job. Keep it up. Thanks. We'll talk again after the Red Wings get first pick in the
let's
There you
go.
Yes, sir. Thanks again,
You got
Ken.
Okay, guys. My pleasure.
Thanks, Ken, for coming on. We really appreciate you pushing us to do a Zoom interview, I guess. We're not used to the video, but it's been kind of interesting since now I can see Tyler and Connor's ugly mugs all the time. So,
You're welcome.
Not that ugly.
well,
Speak for yourself.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. I'm at least a 6.5.
there you go. Solid 6.5.
With the right lighting, I mean, you could be, pushing stuff.
Thank you.
But yeah, boys, it's awesome having Ken back on for the second time. It was nice actually like talking a little bit more about hockey, current hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously he mixed in a little bit of old in there too with walking into Gordy's elbow.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to see if we can get that clip from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, because I remember seeing that last summer and I was like, oh my God, that is part of a club.
Yeah, to say the least.
Big club, actually,
Yeah.
though.
Very big club. They have meetings about it actually. It's like a therapy session.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really like we talked about before. And as Dustin mentioned, it was good to hear about what's going on with the Wings, kind of, a little bit of the future for the Wings too. And, everything in between. So
I hope he's right. I hope he's right about Giovanni Smith because I really want to see him play next year up in the wing wheel.
That's Dustin's
I'm
boy
not
for
sure-
sure.
I'm not sure.
I mean,
who Giovanni Smith is. You mean Giovanni?
Whatever. You had to correct me, but you know who I'm talking about.
Cut that part out.
I'm not cutting that part out. I don't care. But let's talk about Bertuzzi real quick. Is he good? Is back surgery is it bad? Is he out for is it going to be like a Franz Nielsen kind of thing?
I think, or like a De Kaiser type thing.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's it sounds like it's all good.
Okay.
All the things that I've seen is like he's going to be ready for the start of next year. But
What
who
about
knows?
Larks?
I mean, surgery. I think Larkin's fine.
Nothing serious, just like a strain or something.
Did we have an update on him at all?
Larkin?
Yeah.
I didn't see one, but I just if you get a little bit dinged up and you're like, okay, well, we're going to shut it down for the year type thing. Start your rest.
Well, there's no reason to. There's no reason to push it and get hurt and then have something, in the long
lingering
run.
for next season. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Bertuzzi's good to go. Just because it was kind of interesting to see. I mean, I get it. That's typical hockey, but it's like you waited the whole season. Then you're like, oh, by the way, he needed surgery. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well,
he could have got.
I
But
think
do you think he was trying to rehab up until that point, and then he decided it wasn't going to be rehabable, so he had to get surgery?
So here's the thing, Dustin. Surgery is always a last resort for players. Players don't want to have to go through surgery if they don't have to. And so I think that, getting a couple different opinions on it, because if you listen to one doctor and they say, yeah, you're going to need surgery. All right, well, I'm not entirely sure. So I'm going to go to a different doctor and see. I'm not saying that that's what's going on. That's what I'm thinking was happening because it took so damn long.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is it lower back? Did we get anything?
It's an upper body injury.
I mean, that's all it was. UBI.
Yeah, you know how they go. Literally, that's what it says. It's the upper body. Literally, even in the article about surgery, upper body injury, required surgery. Nothing about it was. I mean, it's speculated his back. I think they may have set his back in there, Connor. I can't quite recall the article, but nothing about like lower back, middle back, what happened, spinal cord fusion, nothing, anything in depth or anything.
Yeah, as Mike Tyson would say, spinal.
Broke my back.
Broke my back.
But yeah. So hopefully he's back.
He's what, three to 5 months, did they say, for recovery?
Mm-hmm.
What was I saw something along those lines.
It basically just comes down to he's going to be ready for next year. I mean,
yeah,
it started next year, and hopefully training camp before, because that's what you don't want him just obviously starting up. So
yeah,
I don't think it'll be an issue
just,
for him or anybody getting back on the ice, especially with what they said as far as surgery and rehab and all the other things that go into it. So bottom line, he'll be back and should be good to go.
So on injuries, Bobby Ryan expressed that he'd want to come back with the Wings, even though he's had a shortened season by about half the season roughly. So do you think he's going to be re-signed maybe as a pawn for the expansion draft?
I don't know. Maybe as a pawn. I would say maybe an asset towards next like
sign him up for another $1 million season
for next year.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, if he's already expressed interest, I think that he'd be okay with another patch deal where it's like 1 year, $1 million. Or
do you think Yzerman would be interested though with that? I mean, we have cap space to play with.
I mean,
he wasn't. I mean, he produced decent, right? I mean, he didn't come up to my 20 goal season like I expressed, but he did get 14 points in 33 games.
Oh man.
Which was third on the team in points, surprisingly, which isn't saying much on that team, but it is.
But he's a good veteran to have.
Yeah,
he's a good veteran to have around.
And that's why I think that might be something that would be worthwhile, because I don't foresee DeKaiser coming back next year.
Well, here let me put a little bit of a spin on this, and I want your guys' take on it. So put it in the perspective of a team like Edmonton or the Leafs, where they already are so stacked up front. What use do they have for a guy like Bobby Ryan? See, the Red Wings could use a guy like that for just to have a veteran who's been in the league, over 10 years. It's good to have a guy like that who can dish good passes to young players, help them out, maybe get some confidence going, get some points. But I mean, yeah, they're really, if you think about it, what teams are going to have interest in him at this point in his career?
No, I mean, it's the teams that are similar to the Wings. I think it's going to come down to is that he's going to be very inexpensive. There's a ton of money to play with if we want. He's super low risk, and he was on track for, on a regular season, 35 to 40 points. I mean, there's no that. If anything, that's a great deal. Might as well take the points, take the veteran leadership, and move on until he wants to retire. To be honest, like, it's not going to hurt. Isn't it? Like that one spot on the Wings won't be taking it from anybody else that like could potentially, if anything, there's about 10 other guys that could be sent down or not on the team for like a younger guy to take their spot. Like he's not one of them.
And if he has like a really good start to the season, and his stock price increases, let's say when the time comes for a team like Edmonton or Toronto to have an extra guy in their lineup to make them even deeper, then it's an asset coming back to us, which it goes back to your point, Connor, low risk.
Hopefully,
right? Like sign him for, like sign him for $1 million, and then you get a couple draft picks back for him. I'm okay with that.
Especially if he already wants to come back. It's not like he needs the money. It's not like he's going to be in there in Yzerman's office being like, oh no, I need 1.2, I need 1.3, or I'm not coming back. He's like, I just want to be here. Give me $1 million.
He's not going to have a contract dispute. Yeah. He's not going to be holding out.
He probably made $50 million.
So on contracts, Bertuzzi, he had what's going on with that? Is he going to sign? Is Yzerman signing him in the offseason? Or is he going to?
Because he has to, right?
I don't know if he has to. He's an RFA, I think. Or I'd have to look, but we'll bring this up next episode. Might get some more details. But the reason I'm asking is, could could they hold off after the injury draft to sign him? I'm not sure when the time frame is. So then technically you wouldn't have to protect him.
If I was Eisman, I'd just be like, well, I mean, you're hurt all last year. Like they're just going to get a great deal. Like Eisman, I think the Red Wings are going to get a great deal, and it kind of sucks for Bertuzzi.
But that's my point though. Is they can go back to arbitration though, like last year, and he's gonna be like, listen, I'm at a contract dispute because I'm not interested in taking that shorter deal because
I don't know. But after arbitration, it's really hard to take that to arbitration when you just were injured the entire season.
And I think Bertuzzi knows that's the thing, is that he knows he's going to have a hard time to negotiate this one.
It's a hard dispute.
Yeah,
because what's he going to say? Like,
very rarely are there like injuries, large injuries that take you out for an entire season. Do they go to arbitration because teams just, hey, you're high risk. I can't put 10 million, or it shouldn't be 10 million, but $5 million a year against you.
Right, because you don't know what if you're going to come back from the injury, be the same. That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, especially surgery. It's a gamble,
right?
Like who knows? It's not like he like hurt his, I don't know. I guess knee and ankle is both bad, but it's not like he like hurt his
pinky,
collarbone or something. And and like you can kind of play through it and be fine.
Yeah. No, that's valid. Do you guys want to talk about the last 2 games of the season?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they look good, but
one person we need to talk about.
I think that us 3 would probably be only 3 that tuned into that game. I mean, wow, that's what a bad couple of teams to play against. But it was good hockey to watch at least. Like there was some fun games, fun scores. It wasn't like a 1-0 game and some overtime games. So it was fun.
Hey, stick taps for Joe Veleno getting his first goal.
Yeah, good for him.
Getting his beak wet.
I think that he is going to be, I'm not going to say he's going to be a superstar in the Wings, but I think he's going to be a special player for us coming up. He's a young guy. Him, Zadina, guys like him, Raymond, all those guys I think are going to be a big part of the future.
I'm excited for Brana.
And I think that's why a lot of these guys are why they played so hard, to what we were saying the first part of this episode here, is that there's a lot of guys coming up, and there's a lot of guys that already have roster spots that aren't on the team right now. So the people that were on the bubble, it's not like they could just pack it in and be like, all right, well, last couple games, go out there, play some hockey and enjoy my off season. I mean, they're probably all right. There's going to be the last reminder that Yzerman has to see me live. I need to give it everything I have because I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, Dustin brought up Verona a little bit ago, but in 11 games, 8 goals and 2 assists. I mean,
we won the trade.
The guy, well, we already won the trade when it happened.
But it was solidified.
But he's even proven it. Yeah. But people forget that Richard Peronic was a part of the deal as well. And I haven't really paid much attention, but it's another veteran to have.
He's doing his thing
in the depth. Yeah, he's not scoring at will, but yeah, it's good to see. And we've talked about it time and again. Just a change of scenery where sometimes that's all you need. And look at Verona. I hope that he takes this and runs with it for next season. I know that maybe, I don't know if he's a big golfer, but he certainly will be getting better at golf now that he's not in the playoffs.
Speaking of golf, I just bought some golf clubs.
You did?
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. What'd you get?
I don't know, some Callaways.
Don't know. Okay. Nice.
I mean, just like some like entry level Callaways, nothing crazy.
Nice.
My buddy's trying to get me to get like a nice set, like over $1,000. I'm like, bro, listen, like I'm just gonna get like a nice like $500-$600 set
just to get into it.
Yeah, just to try it out, see what's good, and then I can kind of go from there. If I want to scale up, perfect, but I don't want to go.
I just had my first round of the year, so we'll have to get together and play some golf.
Little wing sauce golf outing.
Yeah, I played on Friday. It's great.
I had 2, and I don't. Sometimes when I'm out there, I'm like, why do I play this? This is not fun right now.
See, that's the thing.
We're having fun,
but I just want to have fun. I don't want to go out there and get upset about playing golf.
No, it's more so like, so when you're playing in the league, like I play in this league where it's really annoying when you tee off and everyone else is watching you, because like the pressure's on you. Better have a good tee shot, or you're just gonna your confidence is like a beaten puppy.
Oh yeah.
So But every tee shot that I had, luckily
Was
was good.
terrible.
My putting was atrocious. Yeah.
See, I'm good at putt, so I'm good at putting.
Well, that usually translates.
No,
Well,
no,
yeah.
like legitimate putting. Like I was just joking about putt, but like I'm actually decent at putting.
Yeah. No,
I cannot
know.
drive a ball with a shit, dude. My driving, like if I get over like 170 yards, I'm fucking happy. Like
You could probably throw the ball more than you can
Oh.
drive it.
Makes the par fives a little tough, a little long.
dude, I can honestly, I need to get better at my driver because I can usually hit an iron farther than I can hit my driver. So,
Well,
yeah,
We'll have to work on that for you.
yeah. Boys, anything else?
But no, let's get together and
Play some golf.
you thought I was gonna say let's get the buck out of here, but
the fuck
no,
outta here,
no, let's
Fuck
get
all of you.
together and play some golf. I think Connor, we should probably meet up in Battle Creek. Are there some good tracks around you?
yeah, there's a few. There's some of them are private. That's the one I was playing at. Not a big deal. So
Mr. Popular.
private.
If you could sneak us in there.
Well, I had to get snuck in. No, I had to go with a member, so I don't think I could twist that.
Connor's just out there walking around like, sir, are you a member here? He's like, no, I'm just playing some golf.
It's like I'm just bringing my.
Let's
my
just
driver
confidently-
Yeah.
Let's just take our bags and just walk the course.
I swear people do that
yeah,
right now.
we have a
Oh,
tea time.
Honestly,
Oh yeah, definitely do.
I'd honestly be curious to see if you could actually do that, like on like in the middle of the week, kind of just walk onto a course and just start playing. See if you
I think you can. I mean, like I walk it every day with the dog. We go out there and walk the course if nobody's playing or next to it on the road or whatever. But you can do it. There's
Ollie's
nobody
just
out there.
picking
Golf
up
balls?
like muff drives and just running with them.
But other
him
than
out.
that, yeah, there's some.
Dustin's
nice
tee
courses.
shots.
We'll go here. You guys come here and we'll go golfing and watch some hockey after. Watch some playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll playoff hockey.
Playoff
All right,
hockey,
boys.
yeah.
I like that.
All right,
All
let's
right.
get the puck out of here and talk to you guys next week.
See you next week.
See ya.
So, yeah.